Tonight, next steps in the impeachment process.
The American people deserve a fair trial in the Senate.
And when the articles could be sent to the Senate. And the countdown is on in the Iowa caucus. The dwindling field of Democratic presidential candidates set to debate tonight, the last time before the first ballots are cast. What to expect as 6 White House hopefuls hit the stage. Plus, influenza in America.
Some can be more serious than others, and this year's a particularly nasty one.
How to protect yourself from getting sick this flu season. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. An end in sight to the impeachment stalemate. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Bratter. Tonight, the long wait is almost over. The House is getting ready to send over the articles of impeachment to the Senate tomorrow.
That's also when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will appoint House managers in President Trump's Senate impeachment trial.
CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson begins our coverage tonight with what will be the third ever Senate trial of an American president. Abigail?
Well, Jenna, this new timetable means the House impeachment managers will likely walk the articles over to the Senate tomorrow, which will set off a trial nearly a month after the House approved the charges against the president. Sending impeachment articles to the Senate will set the stage for the trial to begin. The president is looking for an outright dismissal, which seems unlikely even in the Republican-led Senate.
If the existing case is strong, there's no need for the judge and the jury to reopen the investigation.
While Leader McConnell fought calling more witnesses, he's keeping the door open by following the rules of President Clinton's impeachment proceeding.
I do believe that we should be completely open to calling witnesses.
With stances like that from some Senate Republicans, the 51 votes needed for a motion to dismiss are unlikely.
Every Senate impeachment trial in history has included witnesses. You want precedent? Precedent says witnesses.
The big fish would be John Bolton, whose willingness to testify could lead the president to exert executive privilege to limit his former national security advisor as a witness. South Carolina's Lindsey Graham said the Senate will debate whether to call witnesses after the House managers make their case.
I feel very confident he will be acquitted in the end.
I want to say again to the American people how profoundly sorry I am.
Before his own acquittal in 1999, President Clinton faced 13 impeachment managers during his Senate trial.
I believe that the impeachment managers set the tone.
Met with cheers at Monday's college football championship, President Trump has said he doesn't feel like he's being impeached. Graham relayed what he told the president at the game.
I told him there's a process. Once we start, we're going to try to plow ahead and get it done and hopefully be over by the time of the State of the Union.
Now, the big question on the Hill tonight is who will fill the roles of those House impeachment managers? Right now, it's highly likely that House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff and Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler will be in that group, but the lawmakers prosecuting the case won't be named until tomorrow's resolution. And Speaker Pelosi is pretty good at keeping this a secret.
Right, Abby, with the House set to send the impeachment articles tomorrow, any idea on how soon the Senate trial can begin?
Well, Leader McConnell said this afternoon that he thinks it will begin next Tuesday. And today he began to outline some of those first procedural steps the Senate will take, like the swearing in of Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts and all the other senators, and debating on a resolution on the actual trial guidelines. Now, he also reminded reporters today that senators won't be allowed to speak during phase 1, where the case will be laid out. And after that phase is when they will decide on whether or not to have witnesses.
All right, Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill, thank you. Well, to election 2020, in just 20 days, Democrats in Iowa will be the first in the nation to weigh in on who they want as their party's presidential nominee. And ahead of the state's caucuses, 6 leading hopefuls will return to the debate stage tonight in Des Moines. It's the smallest group to square off yet. New polling shows a tight race in Iowa. The latest Monmouth poll with Joe Biden in the lead with 24% of the potential caucus goers supporting him. Bernie Sanders, 18%. Pete Buttigieg with 17% and Elizabeth Warren at 15%.
And here now to discuss is Doug Thornell, principal at SDK Knickerbocker and a former DNC senior advisor, and senior CBN Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Great to be with you.
Doug, let's start with you. 20 days out, polling has been shifting as of late. Who do you see as the front runner in the Democratic race?
Yeah, it's kind of a four-car pileup right now. You have the poll you cited, Des Moines Register had a slightly different outcome. But, you know, look, I think nationally, Joe Biden's still the front runner. I think that's pretty clear. Most polls show him with anywhere between a 5 to 10 point lead. And then after that comes Bernie, and then Elizabeth Warren, and then Buttigieg. But in the early states, you know, look, anyone could win Iowa right now. Total coin flip, any one of the four. It's a total coin flip there. And then New Hampshire as well. Now, New Hampshire is going to be impacted, I think, by who wins Iowa because, you know, momentum. Right. You know, bruise momentum. And so I think that's why they're putting so much emphasis, resources into Iowa right now, because they know what that means to New Hampshire.
And right now, who has the best ground game there in Iowa?
Elizabeth Warren does. You know, the folks that I talked to in Iowa, they've been saying this for a long time, and that she has probably the most organizers, and they are probably the ones that have been the most efficient and have been, you know, kind of out there. And so I think she is right up there. You know, I had actually heard Cory Booker had a really good operation before he dropped out. Biden has been building a very good operation. He obviously got into the race late. And then Pete, with his influx of cash, has also built a solid organization as well there.
Jennifer, who do you see as a clear leader in the Democratic race?
Well, I think Doug is right. I think that nationally Joe Biden is the front runner, but I think you have two competing factions in the Democratic Party right now. You have Democrats who think that Biden has the experience and the scrappiness to beat Trump, full stop, and they want to see that happen. And then I think you have another faction of the Democratic Party that is also very strong, that says right now is the time to make a radical move towards socialism with a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren at the top of the ticket. And so I think that while Biden has a slight advantage, really it could go either way between those two factions.
Doug, we're starting to see Warren and Sanders go after each other.
Yeah.
What does this signal to you?
I've been waiting for this, quite honestly, for a while, because I thought that they were sort of on a collision course because they're going after some of the same voters. It'll be interesting. Look, it's obviously this question of what Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren in a private meeting in 2018. It's got to come up tonight in the debate, right? Because CNN is hosting the debate. They broke the story. It's going to be asked. Now, the question is, does Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, do they try to de-escalate and defuse it and basically move on to another conversation? Or does, you know, or is it pressed? And I think signs today show that they're trying to de-escalate, because I don't think that they see much value in terms of having this conversation in front of a national audience, because what's so important to voters right now is, you know, yes, absolutely, who can beat Trump in November? That is number two, though, to who can unite the country in the latest Des Moines Register poll. Both of those are very important. So you got to come out there and show, I can bring the party together, I can bring the country together, and I can beat Trump.
Let's talk about diversity. So the Democrats have always wanted to be the Big Tent party, but tonight we're looking at 6 candidates who don't represent that diverse field who we first saw, you know, at the beginning of this primary race, Doug. The DNC taking a lot of heat for this. Do you think that's fair?
Look, you have to have benchmarks in debates. You know, I think Republicans learned that in 2016 when they had 1 million people running. So I have no problem with the benchmarks that they made. You know, if you can't reach them, and they were not, you know, they weren't things that were so out of the ordinary. You know, I think getting 4 or 5 or 6% in a state poll or in a national poll and 225,000 or so donors, I think that's a realistic thing that shows like you're gaining some ground in progress. Would I like a more diverse stage? Absolutely. But right now, if you look at the polling, you know, African-American voters, by and large, are supporting Joe Biden. Younger African-American voters, though, are actually leaning towards Bernie Sanders. So that's where, you know, that's ultimately where the voters are, and you can't tell them who to vote for or who to support. So I think, you know, it is what it is. You know, obviously I wish it was more diverse, but it isn't.
Jennifer, in the half minute that we have left, talk about the prominence of the impeachment trial that will play not only in tonight's debate, but also throughout the campaign.
Sure. Well, look, it's historic. President Trump was impeached. That has not happened very often in history. But I don't think, you know, Democrats are going to make this a big deal. Americans overall, I don't think, really care. I mean, you know, less than half of the population wants to see the president impeached. You look at independents, that's like 42, 43% who want to see him impeached. So I think Democrats will continue to push this throughout the primary, but I don't think it moves the needle.
All right. Jennifer, Doug, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Coming up, an Iranian activist goes viral with her message for President Trump after the killing of General Soleimani. She joins us when we come back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Well, welcome back. Iran today says it made several arrests after the downing of a Ukrainian international flight last week that killed all 176 people on board.
This move is seen as an attempt to quell thousands of Iranian demonstrators protesting the government's initial cover-up.
CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with what's taking place on the Iran situation closer to home. Ben?
Well, John, Jenna, today the House called witnesses to discuss the U.S. military action that some argue sparked the accidental shooting down of that aircraft you were just talking about. Lawmakers want to know whether a suspected terror threat was truly imminent or part of a larger operation. Some also question the legal justification for taking out a top Iranian commander.
This committee has received a lot of conflicting information about the killing of General Soleimani.
Hoping to clear things up, the House Committee on Foreign Affairs asked experts to analyze the intel used to justify that fatal strike.
To make matters worse, Secretary of Defense Esper says he doesn't have any evidence of threats against our embassies either.
I do think the number of conflicting comments being made by senior administration officials about whether or not there was, in fact, any threat and the degree of the threat that was being faced are really concerning.
While President Trump has maintained an imminent threat, some lawmakers in both parties say an embassy threat was not mentioned at their classified briefing. Trump pointed to Soleimani's past actions, including attacks on American soldiers in Iraq, and then took aim at critics, tweeting, "They are working hard to determine whether or not the future attack by terrorist Soleimani was imminent or not, and was my team in agreement? The answer to both is a strong yes, but it doesn't matter because of his horrible past."
I am concerned, however, that the approach being taken right now, including in particular the targeted killing of Qasem Soleimani in Iraq, is not one that well serves these goals.
One of those goals being keeping nuclear weapons out of Iran. The European Union just took a step towards reimposing international sanctions on Tehran in an effort to get them back into compliance with the 2015 nuclear deal. Student protests broke out at an Iran university after the government lied about the Revolutionary Guard shooting down the Ukrainian aircraft. Those tensions could possibly cause bigger problems for the Iranian regime.
New economic sanctions imposed by the U.S. administration could reignite the massive public demonstrations that Iran put down last fall only with brutal force. Iran's leaders in the past have been pragmatic when their hold on power was threatened. However, grudgingly, they may decide that negotiations are the least bad option.
Now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reiterated again the attack was in fact imminent and that they knew Soleimani was traveling with the intent to purpose to deliver a strike, a blow against Americans in the Middle East, he said, adding, quote, we weren't about to take that risk. But also we just got word that meanwhile over in the Senate it seems that Senator Tim Kaine has gotten enough Republican votes to pass a war powers resolution which does in fact limit President Trump's military action and retaliation in Iran. John, Jenna.
All right, Ben Kennedy at the White House, thank you. Well, although Washington may be split on how the president is handling the killing of Soleimani, one Iranian activist is thanking him. She's also criticizing the media for peddling what she calls the regime's propaganda in a video that's gone viral.
They forced us in school to say death to America. I was 7 years old. I didn't know what I was saying. And the people that are like saying that right now, they're called the Basiji. They're like, you know, they're getting paid. They're the ones that get paid to kill people on the street. So yeah, they're going to say death to America, but that's not the people. The majority of the people in the Middle East don't hate America. They don't hate Donald Trump.
And with us now is Sagar Erica Kasrai, an Iranian activist and Vice President of Human Rights Policy with the Victor Marx Group. I apologize, first of all, for butchering your name. Erica, you criticize people and the media for trading on Iranian propaganda. Help us understand what you mean about the millions of people that we saw in the videos for the funeral procession of General Soleimani. Are you saying that there's an even greater number of Iranians who celebrated his death, just perhaps not in front of the camera?
Well, the Islamic Republic has about 4 million government workers. So they intimidate, they shut the government down, they shut schools down. You have to imagine, how do they transport that many people to a funeral procession? They bust people in, and many of those that you saw on the streets are coming from rural areas, from surrounding areas that are poor, and they, you know, promise them food and, you know, a day in the city. So what you saw was complete propaganda. The Islamic Republic has been, you know, advancing their propaganda for 40 years. And as I mentioned in the video, you know, in school, when at least I remember when I first came to America, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the school day. Well, Iranians have to say death to America and death to Israel. They walk on the American flag that's painted in the doorsteps of schools and government buildings. I don't believe that the majority of Iranians hate America, and that's what I wanted to say in the video.
Yeah. What kind of response did you get after posting that video?
Well, the outpouring, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who's reached out to me. I wish that I could say thank you individually to everyone who's reached out, you know, via email or commented on the video. I'm so grateful. I had no idea it was going to go viral, but I think there was a niche that maybe hasn't been reached. What I see today is that, for the most part, the American people don't trust the mainstream media. You know, we have seen both sides attack one another, and there's a lack of genuine, informed conversations and discussions, and demonization of those that support the president. I think we should, as Americans, come and support the president in the decision that he made. Qasem Soleimani has terrorized the Middle East and held hostage many governments and the peoples of Lebanon, of Yemen, of Iraq, of Syria. And for me, as someone who's been a Middle East watcher, it was just sort of kind of strange to see how some people were like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you celebrating the death of this guy? Where in Iran,
people were like literally baking cakes and dancing and, you know, celebrating the fact that this man who really represented the guardianship of the Islamic Revolution was eliminated.
I want to ask you about churches and missionary groups. They often report that Christianity is growing rapidly in Iran, second only to China. What can you tell us about the situation there religiously on the ground?
You know, for the last 40 years, the Islamic Republic has forced people to be Muslim. Islam is in school. It's everywhere you go. You know, there's no freedom of religion. And there are a lot of very brave Christian organizations and missionaries that are bringing the gospel to Iran and to the Middle East, to Afghanistan, to many countries in the Middle East that are not often friendly to Christianity. But it's hard, there's no real statistics, obviously, but there's a huge underground movement, and it gives me a lot of hope that Iranians are hearing the truth.
Well, since the government admitted to the Ukrainian crash, we've seen several high-profile Iranians speak out. You know, an actress, a news anchor, all of these different people. The first and only female Olympian from Iran. Erica, could Iran be at a tipping point? Just a few seconds left here.
Absolutely. You know, two catalysts. One, elimination of Qasem Soleimani, and the second one was the downing of this plane. I think we have a saying in Farsi, or I think we can say it in English too, they've had it up to here. And if you listen to the chants of the people that are protesting in the streets today, they're saying, you know, 40 years of crimes and, you know, down with this regime. You know, I don't know what it's going to take, but I think that if the president continues his course, we could see an Iran that's free and democratic.
Well, we have to leave it there, but Erica Kasra, thank you so much. It's great to have you.
I appreciate the time.
We'll be right back.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Well, in health news tonight, this year's flu vaccine may not be as effective among children. That's because a strain of the virus that more commonly infects kids is on the rise. The CDC reports an increase of cases of influenza B. This year's vaccine is about a 58% match to that strain, posing a risk to children who are more likely to be infected. The flu is being blamed for the deaths of 32 kids already this season. The CDC says 21 of those are associated with influenza B.
Well, new satellite images show the Australian wildfires affecting the worldwide atmosphere. NASA says smoke from the flames will travel the span of the globe. Currently, it's reached as far as South America. And while better weather conditions are in the forecast for parts of Australia this week, the nation's prime minister says no end in sight. There's no end in sight to the wildfires.
This morning, I received briefings from the Bureau of Meteorology, which set out that over the medium term, out to the end of April, Australia will continue to be experiencing warmer and drier conditions, that there are still many more months of a response and directly confronting these fires.
Smoke from the fires is posing a health risk for Australians. Haze has blanketed some cities, causing hazardous air quality conditions in places like Melbourne. A stunning space discovery found by an unlikely source. That's next on Faith Nation.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Well, finally tonight, we've all been there. Interns sometimes stuck with menial jobs like making copies or going on coffee runs.
Yeah, that was me. Not this next kid, though. A 17-year-old NASA intern found a way to make a name for himself with a new discovery.
What I discovered was a planet. We have a telescope that happened to be pointing at these stars, and the planet passed between those stars in our telescope. And just like when the moon eclipses the sun, it creates a dimming of light from those stars. What we did was I noticed that dimming, and that was evidence that something was there, and it happened to be a planet.
NASA's test mission just discovered.
The teen's discovery came just 3 days into his NASA internship. The planet is 6.9 times larger than the Earth. NASA says it's located about 13,000 light years away.
Well, thanks for watching tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.